Hey folks, Matt Easton here, Scholar Gladiatoria, and as regular viewers of the channel will know, I've done a fair number of fight reviews from Game of Thrones, and I do like the show myself. I watch it avidly, and in fact Lucy and I have been watching the show, rewatching it from the first season through again, and it's interesting to see how many details we didn't notice the first viewing through, and we're enjoying watching it again a lot. But it did get me to thinking, where's the end game going? And as we're going towards the final season of Game of Thrones now, I thought I'd make some of the Matt Easton Scholar Gladiatoria channel Game of Thrones predictions. So let's have a see and see what I think is going to happen, and then in a year's time we can see how accurate I was. So first up, we've had some clues in the show about this, but I think that Bran is going to somehow time travel back and go into the mind of King Aerys, and he is going to be responsible for driving the Mad King mad. And there's clearly going to be a connection there with wildfire and some desire to destroy the White Walkers. So that's my number one prediction, is that Bran is the cause for King Aerys going mad. Still on the topic of Bran, I think at some point Bran is going to go into the mind of one of the dragons in order to achieve some specific goal. It could be into Viserion, the Ice Dragon, the Night King's kind of turned dragon, or it could indeed be into one of the good dragons. But one way or the other, I think he's going to try and control one of the dragons, and that's going to get, if it's one of the good dragons, that's going to get the dragon killed. Still on the topic of dragons, I believe that Viserion, the dragon that's been turned to a sort of ice dragon by the Night King, is going to be killed ultimately, probably by a dragon glass or obsidian tipped projectile shot out of Cersei's giant crossbow. I do think we're going to see Cersei's giant crossbow, or ballista, depending on what you want to call it. Technically it's a crossbow rather than a ballista, but I do think we're going to see Cersei's giant crossbow again, and I do think it's going to be the end for Viserion the Ice Dragon. Jaime Lannister. So I believe that Jaime Lannister is at some point going to try and kill Cersei. Whether he'll succeed or not, I can't tell. But I also think that he's probably going to die saving Brienne, which does make me wonder if maybe somehow Brienne is trying to kill Cersei, and Jaime somehow prevents her from being killed in the process. I don't know, but somehow I think Jaime's going to save Brienne and die in the process. Next up, the Hound. I do think that the Hound is somehow going to save Arya's life, and I think that it's possible that it might be when Arya is trying to assassinate Cersei. That could be somewhat different. I don't know how the Hound would get back down to the south. I don't know. Obviously a lot could happen in the next seasons, but I do think that somehow Arya and the Hound are going to come back together, and I do think that somehow he is going to save Arya, and that's going to illustrate the point that her not killing him was somehow the right thing to do, or not do. Jon Snow. I do believe that Jon Snow will not survive to the end. I believe that he will get Daenerys pregnant and they will have offspring, but I believe that Jon is going to die, and I think that he'll probably die trying to kill the Night King, trying to kill, or at least fighting the White Walkers. So unfortunately, I think that Jon's number is up. I don't think that he will survive the series. Sam. We know that Sam is destined for great things. He didn't go and get his father's Valyrian steel two-handed sword for no reason. He obviously is going to do something with that sword, unless he gives it to someone else, but I don't think that's very likely. I personally think that somehow he's going to end up fighting side by side with Jon, and when Jon dies, Sam is going to finish the job. So my prediction is that Jon is going to die at the hands of the Night King, and Sam is going to kill the Night King with his father's Valyrian sword. Now, there are lots of different characters. I could go into minute detail of what I think various characters will end up doing, whether they'll end up living or dying. But I'm going to wrap it up with my idea of how the kingdoms will end up. I think that Daenerys will theoretically end up winning and end up being on the throne, but I think that Dany is going to destroy the Iron Throne. She's constantly made reference to breaking the wheel, and I think in this case the wheel, the physical manifestation of the wheel, is the Iron Throne. And the Iron Throne was of course created by her dynasty, and I think therefore it's only right that it be destroyed by her dynasty. So I think that Drogon is probably going to actually physically destroy with fire, is going to melt or destroy some other way the Iron Throne, and she is going to institute or bring in some kind of republic or federation of kingdoms. And I think we're going to see a few of the characters we know and love sitting on the thrones or being presidents or whatever of that various bits of that federation or republic. I suspect that Sansa is going to end up in control of Winterfell and a large chunk of the north. I also suspect very strongly that Tyrion is going to end up ruling over King's Landing. And I also strongly believe, with Varys at his side, of course, and I also strongly believe that Dany is probably going to go back to across the sea and rule in the lands that she conquered by her own hand outside of Westeros. So there we go, folks. I'd be interested to hear your views of what you think is going to happen in the final season of Game of Thrones. Of course, it's entirely possible that some of these loose ends won't get tied up in the final season and they will go into some other series of books or some other series of stories. We don't know. But those are my current predictions with only one season of Game of Thrones left to go. And for anybody who would like to see more of my movie fight reviews of Game of Thrones, if you haven't seen all of mine, then have a look in my playlists, my TV and movie fight review playlist. But I will be doing some more from Game of Thrones in due course. Thank you for watching. Cheers. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. We've got extra videos on Patreon, t-shirts on Spreadshirt, and I hope to see you for the next video.